Welcome to the Bettendorf Public Library's Take-Home Workshop. This time we're making these knotted pantry bags to give you a good way to store some of the produce in your kitchen without having to take up counter space or shelf space. Let's see what's in our kit. This month is really straightforward. It has cord in it. Now your cord is all going to be one solid piece. I'm using bits and pieces, the odds and ends of the different spools that we used, so that mine is not going to be measured out like yours, but you're going to have about 13 yards of cord in your kit. What we're asking you to supply is a pair of scissors and then tape or a binding clip, something like that. It helps hold your cords in place while you're working them. This is not a mandatory item, but it is very helpful, I find. So let's see how we make our knotted pantry bag. The first thing you're going to want to do is find the end of your cord and cut off about 14 inches. So for me, that takes me to right there. I'm going to cut that and then I'm going to set it aside. With the remaining cord, you're going to want to fold it in half, cut it in half, fold it, cut it in half, fold it, cut it in half, till you end up with 8 pieces that are approximately 56 inches each. I've cut my cord, so I have a 14-inch piece of cord. I'm going to set that aside. That's going to be our whipping cord. That's what we're going to use to finish this off. And then I have 8 pieces that are about 56 inches each. I want to find the center point of these, so I'm going to put them all together. Put my ends together and just pull it in half, just like that. So this is my centerpiece. My centerpiece, I'm going to take it and use my tape and just tape that down. With the tape marking the halfway spot, we're going to start working down one side. We're going to start by doing some square knots. And a square knot is just 2 half knots. So to start, we're going to use our outer cords are going to be our working cords. We're going to take our left working cord and we're going to make the shape of a 4. See how that's a 4? And it's going to go over our center cords and under our right working cord. So over it, then under. Then our right working cord is going to go under our center cords, come up through this loop, and go over the left cord. Then we're just going to pull those tight. So that's a half knot. Now we're going to do the same thing, but in reverse for our square. So now we're going to start with our right working cord. We're going to make the shape of a backwards 4 this time, going over our center cords and under our left working cord. So over, under. Then we're going to take our left cord, go under our center cords and up through that loop so it goes over the right. So under, over, and pull that tight again. We're going to snug that up there, nice and tight. And so that's a square knot. So we are going to do 4 square knots on this side, and we'll eventually repeat on the other side. So we'll do 3 more square knots. So we're going to go over and under, then under and through. And honestly, I find it very helpful for me to actually recite that out loud to myself. So I'm going to go over and under, over and under, there we go, under and through. So that's 2 square knots. Repeat again, over, under and through, over under, under, and through. And snug. 3 square knots. And 1 more. Over, under, under, and through. Over, under, under, and through. And there you have 4 square knots, the start of your handle, also known as a Solomon bar. Now we're going to take our 8 cords and we're going to divide them into 4 and 4. And what we're going to do is we're going to working with these 4. So now we have 2 working cords and 2 center cords. And we're just going to do half knots. And a repeated half knot, if you're always working from the same side, is going to end up starting to twist around. It's a pretty nifty decorative element. So we're going to do 4 half knots, but you do them just the same way. It's just the first part. So we're going to make, again, the shape of that 4. We're going to go over and under and through, just like we did before, and pull that up nice and snug. Then instead of repeating it in the reverse, we're just going to keep doing it in that same direction. Over, under, and through. And again, in the same direction. Over, under, and through. You can see why taping this down is helpful, because it just holds all your cords in place and gives you both hands to be able to get these tightened and snugged up. So over, under, and through. For these half knots, for this kind of twisting half knots, always from the same side. So you'll see it's starting to twist a little bit. So I've done 1, 2, 3, 4 of them there. So I'm good there. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do 4 half knots on this side. So it's going to start twisting again. Then when I get that done, I'm going to take my tape off. I'm going to turn this around and repeat everything we did here on the other side. So we'll have 4 additional square knots right next to these. So we'll have, when all is said and done, we'll have 8 square knots in the center and then 4 sections of these twisting half knots. So we've completed the 8 square knots in the middle to form the bulk of the handle, and then we've done 4 half knots coming off each kind of corner, giving it a little bit of a twist, a little bit of interest. Now is where it starts to get a little bit difficult for my brain. So I'm just going to throw half of these off the end of my table there, so I'm only working with half again. And I'm going to tape this down just because I find it easier to work with a secured board. So I have 2 groups of 4 coming off the end of my handle. And what I want to do is I want to take 2 of these, 2 of my right group and 2 of my left group, and I'm going to put those together. And I'm going to go down about 1 inch or so, and I'm going to use these 4, and I'm going to do a square knot. So again, I'm going to grab my tape, and I find the tape useful actually to kind of measure this. So I'm going to go from the bottom of my knots, I'm going to go 1, 2 widths of my tape. And if I keep that, if I use my tape, but it's just a way for me to measure, because as I'm making additional knots, they need to be at that same level. So I've got 2 widths of tape, it's about 1 inch, roughly. Now I'm going to do another square knot. So I'm going to take my left and go over under my right working cord, bring my right working cord under the center and up through the loop on the left, and make that nice and tight. And then I do the same thing, just in reverse. Over, under, through. And I'm going to end up with 1 square knot. I'm going to pull it nice and tight. And there's that. So I have these other 2 cords sticking out here, right, on the right, that came from the 4 that came off here. I'm going to pair those up. That's my tape door. I'm going to pair these 2 up with 2 from the other end. So you'll see what we do. We're working in groups of 4, but we're alternating where we're getting those 4 cords from. So I'm going to take these 2, I'm going to set them, it'll be like this. And I'm going to turn this around. And I'm going to do the same thing with my tape. So I'm going to bend my handle so that my 4 cords are together. Have them really nice and flat, just because it's easier for me to see things like that. And then I'm going to take my tape and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go about 2 tape widths down from the bottom of the previous knots. And then I'm going to do another square knot. And I'm just going to keep working around like this. Once I've done, it'll be now, let's get this sorted. These 4, and then these 4 will go together. See how that works? Then I'm going to go about 2 inches down and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to divide each one of these into 2 and partner these 2 up with the 2 from the next one. And we're going to keep going around like that until we are most of the way through our cord. We need to leave enough cord that we can tie it off at the bottom. But depending on how tight your knots are, how close together, you're going to get a few rows of these. So I'm going to keep going like this, just sliding my little octopus around, taking 2 cords from one group of 4, 2 cords from the other group of 4, putting them together at about the same, with the same distance between knots, and making that square knot again. So I've gone all the way around once, separating my groups of 4 and taking 2 and partnering them with 2 from the next group of 4. Now I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm going to take this 4, I'm going to separate them, and then I'm going to partner it with 2 from this group of 4. If you have a workspace that you can lay it out flat like this, I find it very helpful. So I'm going to put those 2 knots together, and I'm going to do this, oops, got too many. I'm going to put these 2 knots together, and with these 4, I'm going to do the same thing that we just did, where I'm going to put a square knot in using these 4, and again, I'm going to use my tape to put it, boom, boom, about 1 inch down from the previous knots. So that's the pattern we're going to go. Keep going down until we have most of the cord all knotted up. While I'm continuing with this knotting, let me tell you that this particular craft we found through Creative Bug. If you're not familiar with Creative Bug, that's a service that the library subscribes to, so you have access to it with your Bettendorf library card, and it has video tutorials and daily exercises, like inspirational exercises for all sorts of different arts and crafts. It has thousands of them, and it has given us a number of ideas for take-home workshops. And it is, if you are interested in learning some new crafts, or maybe getting more practice at the ones you've already tried, Creative Bug is a terrific resource to help you learn how to do new things, or inspire you to look at the crafts you already do in new ways. So just with your library card, you can get to it. If you go to bettendorflibrary.com/do-research-online under crafts, you'll see Creative Bug as well as some other resources that we have available for you 24/7 with your library card. So we've completed splitting those sections of 4 into 2 and 2 and bringing them together, making a knot. Then in the next row down, taking 2 from each adjacent group, making a knot. And we've gone all the way down. Now down at the bottom, we have some pieces that are pretty short. So we're gonna go ahead and finish this off. Yours might have more knots along here. It depends on how close together you put them. Some people will have a finer cord, that will make a difference. So there are variables. But as soon as you get down to the point where some of your cords are getting pretty short, then you'll know it's time to finish off. So just about, again, maybe an inch or so below the bottom of our knots. I'm going to turn this around. We're going to gather all of our cords together. And then here's our 14-inch section of cord that we cut off at the beginning, our whipping cord. We're going to make a loop, just like that, maybe about an inch or so. We're going to gather all of our cords together, put the loop alongside, and hold that in. Actually, I'm going to want that to be a little bit closer to the top. Then I'm going to take my cord and I'm going to start wrapping. So here's my loop. I'm going to start wrapping at this end and work my way down towards the tails. This little end of the loop, I want to leave that exposed. And I'll show you why here in a second. So we're going to wrap. So we have our loop here. We have the tail of the loop here. We're using the other end of the other tail to wrap, and I'm wrapping this tightly and snugly, and I'm wrapping right next to each other because that's going to give me the best looking wrap at the end. When I get down to the bottom, I'm going to put the tail through the loop, then I'm going to go back up to the wrap, and here's the tail that was still sticking out. I'm going to pull on that, and what that does is it tightens the loop and pulls the other tail up inside. Pull hard maybe, depending on how tight you wrapped. I wrapped this one quite tightly. Inside your wraps. So now my loop and my other end are up inside that wrap, and now this end I can just trim off right there at the wrap. So that's a nice solid way to bind your cords off that will keep them from coming apart, and it looks nice. Now I'm going to go back under here and I'm going to trim these off, you know, an inch or 2 down. If you want to, you can fray these out and make that be less wound, your threads, or you can leave them the way they are. So there is your pantry bag. You can hang this up in your pantry. You can put apples or oranges or whatever you'd like in there. Free up a little shelf space. We want to see your pantry bags. We want to see what you made. We want to see how you're using them. So share that with us, please, on social media. We'd also like to thank the Bettendorf Public Library Foundation as well as Quad City Bank and Trust for sponsoring this take-home workshop.